Property is often seen as a business of buildings, but behind every successful development lies something far more important: vision, relationships, and trust. For more than 3 decades, Jannie Krüger has been bringing these elements together, helping build businesses, raising capital, and identifying opportunities long before they become obvious. From Woolworths to Retail Africa, and ultimately Dorpstraat, his career has been shaped by an ability to connect people, ideas, and investment in pursuit of long-term value. Today on Braadcast, we explore the art of deal-making, the importance of relationships, and the lessons learned from a lifetime in property. Jannie, welcome to Braadcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, and thank you for agreeing and saying yes to being here with us today.
Thank you, Norman, and thanks for the invitation. And I must say it's great to be here, and I also want to congratulate you on the series that you're doing. I think it's wonderful stuff, and it's great to hear to learn from each other as well. So, thank you.
Well, I think I'm enjoying it as much as the viewers are enjoying it, because I'm learning about everyone out there at the same time, and it really has been amazing. But Jannie, I know a little bit about you, but I really like the viewers. We don't know at all. You're a name on a letterhead. Sometimes you're a name in a development company, but yeah, you are face to face. And I'm going to ask you some serious questions, because I think what you've done is amazing. So take us back to where it all started, and where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, Norman, my interest in property started as a young boy. My father did quite a bit of residential development in the early 70s, 80s, especially on the Natal coast, South Coast, North Coast. Some of those high rises in the 70s, you'll remember, in the Toties and the Belitios of this world. He was very much part of that. I remember as a young boy, every December holiday, we'll go and have vacation in a new building that is actually opened that December, and there's some wonderful stories, if we had more time, that I can talk about that as well. And also in the 80s, he also partly owned 8 hotels as well, which I think also learned me a lot about focusing on the customer and service. And so, yes, thinking back.
Where did you grow up, though?
In Johannesburg.
Okay.
I matriculated in Linden.
Okay.
And yes, then I did a accountancy degree in Stellenbosch.
But when you say you matriculated in Linden, I also know that you're a very good sportsman. I mean, you're still a good golfer today.
No, not a good golfer.
No, I've seen you hit the ball amazingly. I've seen how you've played golf. But I'm saying, I mean, the reason I love to hear the stories about sportsmen and businessmen is because, sport sometimes brings you a lot of other attributes, the competitiveness in sport, and to achieve and to win, and teamwork. Playing in a team, playing for your team members, and being supported by them. So I think that also helps you shape getting involved into the business world and learning of how to deal with people and to be together. So tell us a little bit of what you achieved in sport. I mean, I know you're a very humble, and I appreciate that, and it makes you all so much special. But share it with us.
Firstly, I have to say I'm a terrible golfer, and just come back from Leopard Creek with some mates, and they will definitely say yes, that's true. But you're right. Having played rugby and cricket as my 2 main sports, both are team sports, and in Afrikaans we say jy skier bietjie skouers. So you shape yourself within a team environment. So I learned a lot of lessons from that, and also within a team environment, to get to a point of excellence, there need to be alignment. You need to work together. So definitely some parallels there that one can.
Okay, and you played for Northern Transvaal. You played for the Bulls.
Yes, I did. But then again, I think I had better players than I in the team. I had some wonderful players that I played with. Guys.
Who did you play?
Joost and Ruben and Johan Ackerman, that's now the coach, and I can keep going on. So they carried me, definitely, So, yeah.
Wonderful. And then tell me, then you went to Stellenbosch?
Yes, I did. Maybe because of sport, I decided to go to Stellenbosch, and I did an accountancy degree there. Played for Marties and rugby and cricket, first team there, and then for all my sins, a bit for province under 20 rugby, and and then my dad actually wanted me to get closer back to home, so. After my accountancy degree, I then did a law degree at Tikkies, and that's where I played for Northerns at the time.
So you did an accounts degree and a law degree?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, the story flows from there because I met Dion Skielman and Rian van Wyk, that was at Woolworths at the time. We did a master's degree while I was playing rugby. I completed the theory. I didn't do my scription because then rugby sort of took over at the time. But they actually told me about an opening at Woolies where Woolies wanted to, they had a new 10-year rollout plan for these food standalones. You may recall in the early days, Woolies had these full line stores based on the Marks and Spencer model, where you've got the big textiles and the little food market at the back. And they wanted to start rolling out these.
I'm going to tell you something that not many people know. My mother was the general manager of a number of, I think she was the first female general manager of a store in South Africa, for Woolworths store.
Okay.
One of the first, if not the first. She ran Cresta, she ran Ramberg. I think she even did a stint at Santon. So I know a lot about Woolworths, and we worked at the tills from as a little kid at school, and we learnt everything about the Woolworths. I mean, how to the sell-by dates and everything that goes with it, and it was amazing. I mean, my whole family, my brothers and all of us, we had to go and work and pay. I remember, I think my first in a little like that grey cellophane little packet. I think my first was R2, 10 an hour. So we loved it, and I know a lot about Woolworths. And my mother was there for, I think, over 30-something years.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I was there much shorter, but a great company. What a wonderful company, and I learned so much in the short time that I was there. To come back to it, they sort of had a 10-year rollout plan for the standalone food markets, and had an accelerated 3-year plan. And I just wanted to get back to the Cape, having studied there and tasted a bit of good wine there. And so I wanted to get down to the Cape again. And then got the opening where I was the guy then had to negotiate sort of the stores. Etienne Eigenberger, that's still with me today as my partner, he did the research. So he took like the cart information, council information, market research from independents, sort of formulated the gaps in the market, and we had to go out and negotiate. And
before you said, yes, I'm going to take this job, did you know what the job entailed?
Yes. I got a good idea from obviously Rian and Dion, but to be honest, I didn't know the difference between OK and Woolies at the time. I mean, I was on the sports fields over the weekends, so I never did shopping, so it was quite a steep learning curve. But it was fortunate because there's quite a few things that happened. Firstly, Woolies at the time was basically, apart from the fact that it's sort of the high end and aspirational, and everyone wants to have a Woolies in their centres, and they also were the only retailer really that did textiles and foods. So you learned the principles behind both those two aspects. These days you've got Pick n Pay that's got clothing, and Checkers has got unique, but Woolies were really far ahead in that regard. And everyone wanted to have them in their centres. So within literally 18 months, I could pick up in the country where the opportunities were, and I started to itch. I knew I had entrepreneurial blood in me and wanted to get out there and wanted to go and do deals. And
was that from a young age that you knew that you just wanted to be in business? Or, I mean, you obviously wanted to play sport and you were competitive, but I'm saying, is it watching your dad be in business, do you think it came from that? Or
Yeah, I just think it's in you. You just you've got a hunger to go out and do things. And it's actually a great story when my when I gave in my notice at Woolies that I'm leaving. My wife was with Investec at the time, and I mean, I didn't even discuss it. I just rocked up at home and said, "Baby, you've got a great salary. Here we go. I'm gonna wing it." And that's actually, I met the late Angus Mackay and Hannes Pickard.
Yes.
They were sort of doing investment broking in the Cape and under DTZ Leadenhall. You may recall at the time.
Yes.
And I quickly picked up that they've got a network. They knew a lot of people in the
I think
industry.
he was also Mr. Krüger.
Jeff
Krüger who owned that, yes.
Yeah, he's no relation of mine.
Okay.
Actually, what had happened at the time, Angus was 15 years older, and I think Jeff was again 15 years older than Angus. And they wanted to sort of start their own, get more into the development side of things, not so much the investment broking. And I got, Hannes and I became good mates, and I just knew that the network, and I knew where to go. And we started Retail Africa. The three of us started Retail Africa. I think the first 3 months we didn't have a name. I sort of took a desk there in a little office they had in Breitengracht Street, and Hannes and I hit the pavements, and we started to look to do deals, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
Your first deal. I'd be very interested in knowing your first deal. Did you see it, identify it, know it there and there that was going to be your first deal?
As I said, when I left Woolies, I sort of knew where the pockets or the gaps in the market were. But now you had to go out and negotiate and do deals, and you didn't have the funding. You have to go and do it. And the first one I did was in actually Monument Park in Pretoria, which we then called Waterkloof Ridge at the time. I wanted to play on the Waterkloof side of things, but it was really Monument Park. And I managed to negotiate the deal and put it together. And so that was the first one.
And the land, did you buy the land there?
Yeah, we bought the land.
And finance was easy?
Yeah, that was the great years. We started Retail Africa in 1999, May 1999. And 2000 to 2007, you could get 100% funding, and I mean, those were the golden years. You just had to run in that energy, and that's how it started.
And how big was that centre?
No, it was small. I think 4,000 or 5,000 square meters, and your typical 800 square meter Woolies and Clicks as your two anchors. And
so the three of you, and were there challenges? You have any difficulty in the first development?
Yeah, to be honest, your first 2.5 years, it takes time for a development. You have to negotiate it, plan it, get your building plan approval, build it. Who
did the development? Who built it for you at that time?
Oh, I can't remember. We never built ourselves. I mean, we always contracted for that. And so Hannes and I and Angus, we did quite a few kind of leasing deals just to keep things going while we were putting the first development together. But it was also the time, you may recall, that Angus, together with Gerald Rubenstein and BOE, took control of Ridgeway Retail Properties.
Gerald was from Vestacore.
Vestacore, 100%. Yeah. So we were going...
And Lawrence Rapp.
100%. He was
he also worked at Vestacore. I think he was a financial manager or something to that.
I met Lawrence there. Lawrence Rapp was there with Bruce, then Gerald's son, and then also Mark Nielsen. I think he's family of the Nielsen, the builders. And within 2 years, Vestacore was listed at the time. And they then actually bought Retail Africa. As I said, they took control of Ridgeway, and sort of there were plans to grow that. In those early years, it had Walmer, it had 50% of Colonnade, 50% of Northgate. Brooklyn as well was in that portfolio. And then Vestacore delisted for other reasons. Obviously, they had other business interests as well.
I think they were in the music business.
Look and Listen. They had Look and Listen, and so. And we then bought back the property business again from them. So they literally owned this for about a year, and we bought it back, and then we really got on a serious run. Then I would say over a span of about 12 years, we probably built about 60 shopping centres.
And what were your concerns? Were there any concerns that you had when you wanted to buy the portfolio back? It was much bigger than when you sold it to them.
They actually bought our services companies. We retained the right to invest in our personal capacities, but we did invest alongside with Gerald also being one of our early investors. I had some wonderful Jewish investors with us in the early years. Cedric Glick from Cape Town comes to mind.
He's amazing.
Wonderful person. And,
incredible things there.
Yeah, and still today we co-invest. And what's great, I mean, our investors are still with us today. Leon Cohen of the Raad Group now.
Okay.
I know you've had an interview with Johnny, and they also co-invested with Leon in one of our funds. But not only them, I mean, Abu Barachua, Saki Makuzoma, Paul Leafright and Leaf Capital was invested with us at a point in time. The Boertjies, Atterbury.
And how did you go about it? I mean, you saw an opportunity, and then did you go to the investors and say, listen, this is what we've got, or did you identify one at a time?
We were very focused, and we were also specialists.
But you were doing greenfields?
Greenfields, at the time, mostly greenfields. Maybe one or two smaller brownfields, although that probably came later in the Dorpstraat years because that was where the market was. So more greenfields. Started smaller. Later, we basically secured the land from Mike de Smet where Clearwater was built, and that was at the time what Advat was put together by the two Louis. Nedbank was involved there with us. We also assisted them in Woodlands. But yeah, to come back to it, we always joked and said that Retail Africa is not Office Africa. We Retail Africa, and it sort of just says what it is. And that specialization and focus, I think, help you to become a master in what you do. So till today, we never want to be the biggest. It's not our interest. We talk a lot about best in class, which means that within the convenience field that we are in today, we really want to be leaders there, or one of the leaders. There's some great other guys as well, which we from time to time co-invest with. And I think also our willingness to JV also means that best breed of practices. You learn from others. Jannie Moorman you had here.
Isn't there a problem sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen and too many powerful people and everyone wants to be the boss or the CEO? Never had that problem?
No, not at all. A good case in point is we've just opened Garden Walk in Hartenbos, where Moorman Group took the lead and we took a minority stake there with them, and they again taking a minority stake with us at Greengate near Mooikloof in Pretoria, where we're driving the development, we're doing the leasing, the development management. So
how's the irony behind that? They take the lead in the Cape, and you take the lead in the Vaal.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if there's trust and you understand each other and you work together and you share ideas, I think the market is big enough, the opportunity is big enough. You don't have to hold on to it for yourself.
How many shopping centers you build with Retail Africa? Because that grew and grew and grew, and your name was synonymous with shopping centers. And if you weren't working somehow, if you weren't involved somehow, then there was something wrong. You were first in mind when it came to.
Well, Retail Africa was about 15 years before we then split it up, and I'll get to that part of the story. Norman, I haven't counted it. It must be between 50 and 60 centers. And over the last 12 years of Dorpstraat, we probably built a similar number, either through greenfields or redevelopments. So we've been busy.
Yeah. The decision to go to Dorpstraat and to separate, why?
The journey was that Retail Africa, and probably because Angus was older at the time and his approach, and it's quite interesting, him being older, he was more opportunistic. I'm slightly more structured in maybe the way I go about and do things. So Retail Africa was known in the market as a developer, really, and also a very good leasing agent. I'm so pleased today Richard and Hilton still takes the brand further because we sold the brand to them just after we formed Dorpstraat. But and sadly Angus passed away as well, as you know. The big difference was we do take development risk in Dorpstraat, but we're not opportunistic. It's a big difference. We think long term now. We think long term in terms of our investments. And the big change was basically that. The name Dorpstraat comes from obviously the beautiful heritage street in Stellenbosch with the old beautiful Georgian white Georgian buildings and then the akkerbome.
It is
oak
beautiful.
trees.
I mean, Stellenbosch is beautiful.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen the Stellenbosch Mafia they talk about. What do they look like?
I spoke to Andrea the other day. He asked the same question. I said, "Tell me about the Italians." But Dorpstraat was really, think of Investec with Investec Bank and 91. My thinking at the time, we owned Retail Africa. In fact, the three guys that started Dorpstraat owned 75% of Retail Africa at the time. We were 3 of the 4 partners in Retail Africa. And I knew Retail Africa was so successful as a developer. The market is not going to take you serious as a real long-term investor and to build a great asset management team around us. So I knew we need to make a bit of a shift. And look, I'm proud Afrikaans. I knew where we wanted to be. I also picked up on the trend. Maybe that's the other thing, Norman, is that we picked up that convenience shopping is going to be the future. And probably the market only picked up on that 5 to 7 years later. We were early out of the blocks, maybe being again specialists, being in the market.
Well, I'll tell you. I have to tell you this because we in broking and we're doing deals, and I was we were looking for stock, and we're knocking phone sellers, and no, we've sold. No, Dorpstraat. So okay, go around again, another building. Oh, we've sold Dorpstraat. I said, now, who the hell are these? Who is Dorpstraat? And you were taking these ugly ducklings or people that didn't have they changed. The centers had changed and they'd lived this cycle and they needed to be revamped and re-engineered and added some different thing. I mean, the perfect example is a number, I think Parktown North, and you did a couple of little ones, and you did, I think, recently you did Leaping Frog. You've taken something that had its day, and changed it. And everywhere we were going, your name was coming up. So you were doing something right, and I didn't even know who you were. And we learned about you, and you became the new Retail Africa, but on a different space. So
So that was the big thing is to get a name that positions yourself as a long-term investor and also as a manager, and inherently still have all those development skills by looking to be best in class, by having kind of the Woolies mindset of quality. Everything that we do is enduring quality. It allows you then to still be very creative in terms of design, aesthetics, but we look at it holistically. Today, we're not just a developer. We combine aesthetics with function, with commercial realities, a deep understanding of your market, firstly, your tenant mix. But I must tell you an interesting thing about Dorpstraat. When I sort of coined the name and I said to my... actually, what happened with Retail Africa, I went to Angus at the time. That was late 2012, 2013 about. And I said to Angus, I want to do things slightly differently. Can't we split up Retail Africa into 3 profit centers? Why? His son James wanted to come into the business. So I said, why don't you set up shop with James in the Cape? I wanted to set up in Stellenbosch, but I'm going to change the direction slightly. And why don't we then give a license to Richard and Hilton to run with Retail Africa in Johannesburg? And Angus was then obviously quite keen on that because obviously his son will come into the business with him. And also he had quite a bit of focus in Africa. You might remember at that time, there was a lot of focus in trying to grow Africa. And I think it was influenced by Gerald Rubenstein with Profern in the early years, which was quite a bit of an Africa bull. But I saw the opportunity under our noses. And all the listed funds was, because of their scale, was starting to look offshore. They went into Europe, some Australia, bigger,
more.
Their focus wasn't on the ground here. And I think the first 7 or so, 8 centers that we did as Dorpstraat, we bought from Grove Point, we bought from Vukile, we bought from Arrowhead, we bought from SA Corporate. So we started to pick up those sites and we started to recycle it. But what happened is the market was getting confused because we would go to the retailers and they'd say, but Jannie, who are you now? Are you Retail Africa? Are you Dorpstraat? And I started to realize Dorpstraat has got a lot of traction. I just could see the gap in the market and where we're going. And but I should also tell you the story about the name. I mean, when I went to my partner and said, but I want to call the company Dorpstraat. So Etienne and Hannes and Jaco, which was our financial director, and fantastic guys. They're all Etienne and Jaco is still with me today. Hannes is making a bit of wine and beer and doing other things, but definitely the core team of Retail Africa then actually came to Stellenbosch. And I mean, you can imagine if a receptionist must answer a telephone and say, hello, is this Dorpstraat, you know? So the guys were saying, but Jannie, what are you saying? Is it Dorp Street Investments or is it Dorp Street Holdings? I'm saying, no, it's Dorpstraat, you know? It's and because we're going to play in a niche within the retail sector. We're not going to be everything to everyone, and I think that stuck, and I think the market picked up on that, and I think that was, looking back, it was good to do that.
It was a good decision.
Good to do that, yeah.
And now you talk about, I told you so. Yeah, they're not so confused anymore. They're okay now.
The reception still says Dorpstraat.
but your partners are okay with it now. Jannie, you got it right.
They're happy, yeah.
So, I mean, and you've basically you've grown this fund. I mean, you've got a lot of shopping centres on the go.
Yeah.
You're changing the landscape of you've got multiple and different partners and investors alongside you. I'm saying, looking back, obviously you've made a lot of decisions. Most of them sounds, obviously the story tells that there were good decisions, but were there any like real big mistakes?
No, I don't look at as such. I think what is so is that when you take development risk and you do things, you're not going to be perfect every time. But I think that was also maybe part of the strategy behind Dorpstraat. It was set up to create portfolios of shopping centers. So came up with the idea of 10 to 20 shopping centers within a closed-ended fund scenario. And what you then get is you get a portfolio effect. It goes back to the investment principles behind it. So if you don't get 1 or 2 100% perfect, your portfolio pulls you through. And not like we made many mistakes, because we're so disciplined in where we hunt, in what waters, and trying to obviously get a lot of things right before we break ground. But yeah, so the idea was then to have portfolios of shopping centers. And the great thing about it is then you can bring in capital behind those portfolios with a very clear investment rationale that comes into play. So typically in the early years, the first 3 to 4 years of the build-out, you'll have the capital behind you that wants higher risk, higher return. You then mature. Once it's closed, we mature it, and then after 7 to 8 years, we can sell. We're probably busy with our 6th fund at the moment since starting Dorpstraat, and that also has been great. I've seen what happened with some other guys, investors that had corporate investors behind them, where the life of the corporate investor changed. Now your life changes below, and I always felt the originator ability is so strong. And then what happens is that if you've got a good team that can deliver, to find the finance behind it is not difficult to do. Okay. It's much more difficult to find the right opportunity and to execute on the right opportunity. And I think the specialization gives you opportunity to then also work the margins, because almost never feasibility works the first time, you know.
But I mean, you couldn't have done it without building proper relationships. I mean, from the very beginning, I've obviously said at Woolworths, and then your partners. But I'm saying you needed to have the tenants, you needed to have the financial partners that were backing you. You need to have your investors. I mean, talk to me about that. What did you look back and say, listen, was the most important part of shaping you as a businessman today?
For me, it is all about a partnership. We talk about it in, our relationship with the retailers. Those are deep relationships. We need to understand how they think. We need to understand what's important to them. So you can't just look at yourself. I actually want to illustrate. Gerald Rubinstein once said that if you go into a partnership, you've got the one guy and you've got the other. But when you're in the partnership, you won, and then you need to think what is best for the partnership. You can't think what is best for the individual anymore. And those kind of principles stuck. And you can apply that to the banks. You can apply it to your investors, the retailers, and the part that we haven't got to is really your market, your customer. It's all about the customer, because the lady or the man that's in Fourways is different to the one in Stellenbosch, is different to the one in Paul. So the great thing about convenience shopping is it's all about servicing the local community and what is important for them. The people in Val de Vie things different to the people in Mostersdrift and Stellenbosch, and you need to understand that nuance and what's important to them.
So you talk about the good years, 1990, 2007, but in that good year there was 2001 or 2002. I think we had the 25% interest rate hike. Were you exposed at that time?
Fortunately not. We were then in the early years still, so we still went out and did things. I think where we were affected was 2007 with the global financial crisis. We were going very strong doing convenience centers. We, in fact, put together a fund by the name of Raad Fund, a Retail Africa Property Fund, which was later on sold to Confolks from the UK, and very successful fund. Although, and again, as Retail Africa, we weren't set up as investors. So it's sort of just by chance. I was, as I said, maybe a little bit more structured guy in the team there. So I sort of saw the opportunity to group these funds together and really start an asset management business behind it. Learned some lessons at the time as well, which came into good stead later. But then we started to look, we did a study of the top 150 towns in South Africa. And we still wanted to start doing bigger stuff. Remember, that's still now the Retail Africa years. And we did 5 centers, which is greater than 30,000 square meters. We were in the ground with 3 of them as the global financial crisis hit. And we had to recapitalize quickly. And fortunately, the quality of the assets was such that we were able to raise capital. We formed the company was actually called Wingspan. The idea was start spreading your wings, and Retail Africa had an eagle as its emblem. And then I said to Angus, I still remember he came back from overseas. He said, "No, man, we just raise a few bob and we go." I said, "Angus, this is serious. We need to raise proper capital." So I formed a company by the name of Retail Africa Consortium Holdings. Actually became a 20% shareholder, Leaf Capital 20%, Confolks and ourselves. But Wingspan took our eye off the ball, and that's where I really planted the seed to say, okay, but bigger is not always better. You spend so much time on...
That's kind of a real lesson.
Yeah, and that's really, I think it steered me to say, but there's an opportunity of convenience. You're in the sweet spot between, call it 100 to 400 million. You're too small for the big funds. They're not going to move the needle. They don't have the appetite for the development side of things because it takes time. Most of them are REITs.
Hard work.
It's hard work.
They're not property people either. They're investors. They're financial gurus.
100%. And you're just slightly too big for the individual. Maybe 1 or 2 individuals can do 1 or 2. So there's probably 5 or 6 guys or groups in South Africa that can operate efficiently in that space. And so that sort of formed the strategy behind where Dorpstraat want to be positioned, and we're still doing that today.
Yeah, so I need to be careful what I say because I don't want to be too critical over the REITs. But at a time, that the REITs were in their prime with the people selling and doing well. They were fortunate. The market was moving in their favor. But most of the people at the helm, I won't say all of them, were financial people, and they weren't property people. And when you found that the market turned and you needed property people to turn this big ship around, it was a lot more challenging and difficult for the people that didn't know anything about property. And you could see it. I mean, there were some consolidations and there were some sell-offs, but the real entrepreneurs, and I mentioned this in the REIT sector. I mean, like the likes of Stephen Herring, which he could make something happen because he understood property backwards. That they seized the opportunity when there were difficult times.
Norman, you're spot on. You're so right. I feel that we truly in property as an asset class where we in direct property. That's what we do. And our investors behind us know that they invest in a very simple format where we invest in direct property. It is so that I think the REITs becomes sometimes a bit of financial engineering. I think it trades a little bit more like a share. So REIT for me, I don't always look at it as be a property play. And then coupled with that, the jurisdictions that sometimes plays havoc in terms of their own funding arrangements.
Your cost of capital compared to the REITs, I mean, do you get good finance terms?
Yeah, we do. I think as a function of two things, maybe three things. Firstly, we only invest in quality. The banks know that. It's coupled with that now, the team and the track record that they know. And then very important, not only at a property level do we see quality, our investors are also the kind of people that I mentioned that stands behind us are men of property people that has done very well in South Africa and are so well respected. So if you bring that all together as a combination, even though you're on the private space, you can be competitive.
Your properties are next level, and I say this with respect because they are, and everyone knows that what you do and how you turn them around and what they look like and what they deliver. You are obviously sought after by a lot of the listed funds to buy, and you obviously sometimes sell to them, especially when the market's flying, to turn it around and to return your investors some money. Surely there must have been a time when the people approaching you to buy everything and to list and to take over the whole. Not interested?
We get approached all the time. That's true. I think what is also important to understand is that our portfolio sits very independent of each other. We could, if we really wanted to go for the effort, combine them. And I think, as I said earlier, there are one or two other groups that probably, if we combine our properties with them, you can put a serious retail portfolio together. But it's never been our intention. I mentioned earlier, the kind of plan on my first price is that you build out for 3 or 4 years, mature the property, change your shoulders that wants to then move on to the next higher return environment with maybe more passive investors that are looking for income distribution. So that cycle just continues. Every 3 to 4 years, that cycle continues. We do have to create an exit opportunity for our investors. So we are obliged that if our investors wants to sell the portfolio within a certain time frame, that we will obviously then do it with them. But my first price is that our business is set up as a good long-term business. I would rather start selling 1 or 2 individual properties that's reached a maturity or doesn't fit the portfolio than to sell the portfolio as a whole. But our investors in each fund will be very much part of that decision when we take it.
Looking back, who did you learn the most from?
Sure.
Competitors. Sometimes your competitors teach you everything.
Yeah.
What you don't want to be like. Sometimes what you want to be like, or how you can improve.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you say where did you learn the most from your? Obviously, not so many mistakes, so it couldn't have been from that.
I think it's again a very good observation, and definitely what we were willing to do as Retail Africa, because we had a development framework, we were willing to partner. So we learned from an early career point of view that you have to work with people, and opportunities flowed out of that. And the consequence of that was maybe an unintended consequence, is that you learn from them. I learned the most amazing things from a Cedric Glick or a Leon Cohen or a Abu Varacha or Jannie Moorman and his team, Peter and Steph and the guys. So you learn from each other, and it comes back to that best breed of practices. So you take what's applicable, what they do well, and you try and apply it within your own team environment. But yeah, you will make mistakes as well. I mean, nothing is perfect, but it takes hard work, it takes focus. Yeah.
Just before I forget, as long as you don't learn anything from Abu about golf,
Yeah.
he can teach you nothing. When he swings the club, you close your eyes. Looking back, I mean, I know I always ask this question because I'm trying to let the viewers see. Were there any regrets that you made along the way? And sometimes people say we never bought enough, we never did more, we never. From you, I know some people say, "Listen, we have done it all. We have enough. There were absolutely no regrets. We learned and we made mistakes, and it was part of the journey, and we were blessings." Do you look back and say, I should have done something different, or was there any mistakes?
Yeah. I don't live in the world of regrets, so I don't think like that. It's not part of my framework. Yeah. But if you ask me, I sometimes wondered, could we have, the fact that we were so focused, you said no to a lot of opportunities. Some is the other guys like Attribute that does precinct development, or Apcon Group that does industrial resi. I've got a real love for resi as I've grown up in a house, and double a bit in my personal capacity in that. But it's not. So yeah, if I had more time, I would have loved to do it. But I think the secret sauce is that focus. I think really,
and consistency.
And you have to stay with that. And that's the people that invest in you because you are focused and try to be a master of what you do. Yeah.
And your dad in the residential, did he make mistakes?
Yeah, he did. I don't think.
Was there ever a time that you felt those mistakes and were aware of them, or did he hide them quite well from you?
Mistakes, yeah. If I say mistakes, I'm not aware of commercial mistakes that he made. In fact, if anything, he was probably more conservative as he got older and I got to know. I think the regret maybe would have been that he would have left me to be active in his business, but we were flying so much with Retail Africa and Dorpstraat, and so we didn't really work close together from that point of view, me being based in the Cape and he in Joburg as well. So maybe that's maybe a regret, an opportunity that was lost. My dad didn't make commercial mistakes. I think it was just...
but he did a good job giving you the foundation and teaching you and guiding you. And obviously you following in his footsteps of where you are. And I know that you mentioned that he passed a while ago, but I mean, he'd be looking down very proud of what you've achieved here today. I mean, it's an amazing story. Yeah. Tell me, for the young graduates qualifying in property studies or in accounting, looking and saying, listen, I want to give them a bit of advice of what you've learned and how you've grown and developed. And you're not even finished, because I'm going to get to that, what the vision is for Jannie and your team and Etienne going forward. But what advice would you give someone coming out of varsity?
First thing is do what I did, resign immediately and get on to and do what you wanted to do. But no.
So corporate first?
Yeah. You know what? I think it's fantastic. If ever you can get the opportunity to do those first 3 to 5 years, I did it for 2 years just to be there. But it just you learn about processes. You learn about compliance. Structure. It's so important. And maybe to add to that, the beauty about it is you can get that. You can either, in the old days, you went to Sanlam or Mutual or one of the banks, and there's so many avenues. There's the Louis Novels of this world, so successful as a quantity surveyor. You can be a broker. I mean, Hannes and Angus was great brokers. So there's so many avenues that you can take, but just get out there and do it. And then, if I may add to that, with that hunger, have the focus to be good at what you do. Don't jump around. Just have the perseverance and stay and become very good at doing something very well. I always say it's
Well, you can't be a professional golfer and tennis player at the same time. I've never seen that.
Yeah,
unless you're a recorder.
That's definitely why I'm such a bad golfer.
And I hear you, but consistency and focus and offering something that obviously your competitors can't do as well as you are, because you're doing it more times and more. You're applying all your heart, mind, and soul to it.
A wonderful figure of speech for me on that is, think of how a tree grows. You first go down and get your wortels, your roots going, and make it strong, and then the tree grows up, and it's only when it gets bigger then it starts to branch out, and then it starts to give obviously the produce and blossoms and everything. So and I think that's how you should think about your career as well. Ground yourself, become good at what you do so that you can grow in what you do, and then maybe do other things, but don't try to do too many things.
Tell us about your vision into the future and how you see South Africa. Because I'm a South African. I love South Africa. Everyone knows that. I talk about it all the time. Not moving, not going anywhere. I love the people here. I love everyone here. We embody resilience and everything that goes in it. But we all South African. We've had our challenges. We still have our challenges. How do you think where's your vision, and what do you think of South Africa at the moment? Opportunity still?
Yeah. Firstly, like you say, an amazing country. Isn't it just the most wonderful country
in the world?
Yeah. And for me, what's also great, and firstly, I should say, we will not, and I'm not saying this flippantly, we long-term investors. The people that invest with us, our own money, we hear and we take decisions for long run. We've got a saying, do the right thing. My partners know, I've said it in the past as well, I don't see walls. I would move walls if it's the right thing to do, because it's a long-term decision. It's not to make a short-term buck. So that's not where we're coming from. And that sort of mirrors our thinking in terms of South Africa. And one of the things that certainly drives me, and I know drives my partners as well, you can imagine the job creation that comes out of what we do, all these developments.
And the community involvement.
And the upliftment, the fabric. Here you've got a Northcliffe corner in Northcliffe, which we now started to demolish or partly demolish and going to redevelop. That was a wonderful building 40 years ago. It was run down, and now we're going to take that structure and we're going to give something in that community back that is wonderful. We're going to do, you spoke about Leaping Frog. We're going to do the buzz now that we bought from Accelerate now, which we're doing with the PhD group guys. And
also wonderful people.
And great. And I think you invest so much back into the community, and you'll never do that if you don't believe in the country. Why would you then do that? And if you ask me the challenges, I think there are serious challenges. I sometimes think, we talk about Ubuntu a lot, to care for each other. But sometimes it's more a take mindset, which can be more imagine our politicians has also got that caring and really looking after the communities and being service orientated. Early on, I said one of the things I learned early on is about understanding your customer, serving your customer, and I think if you look at things like service delivery as well, then and if that's the mindset, and yes, we have to get the metropoles right. The country. Johannesburg, Pretoria, yes, the Cape and Natal as well. And not like the rural areas is not important, but for the powerhouse South Africa to lift its head and get growth going. And we need to get Joburg and Pretoria to be as
I have
efficient
only
as
one
possible.
wish to put people in decision-making positions that know what they're doing. And if they can just get that right, everything will change. I think, I don't think the people that they're really hurting us, I think the wrong people are in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you obviously had challenges. I mean, just talk about one or two of the challenges. COVID was a challenge for you. I mean, were you really exposed?
Interesting not. It's actually different to the global financial crisis, where we, just as we started to spread our wings,
Yeah, the financial
the
problem.
world pulled back. COVID wasn't so. The people still had to eat. We, one of
Your
the things,
convenience.
your bread and butter stuff. So
Chemists.
you have to do. You and I, we don't have to cut our hair, but some needs, not in COVID. But my point being that we're catering for daily needs and services, and our portfolio literally
Was resilient and robust through that time.
I mean, we don't know vacancies of more than 1-2%. You know, if we're 2%, we start worrying. And we looked after our tenants during the time. We were flat for about a year. Obviously, it helped a bit. The banks as well supported in terms of just interest rates at the time. But
some banks better than others.
Yeah, but definitely COVID, the convenience space was so different from obviously the offices
and the big malls
and hospitality and the big malls. To be honest, we hardly felt it.
And then tell me the riots. Any shopping centres affected in the riots?
We were again fortunate because we in the higher end. We jokingly, but it's actually serious. We say to date we go with, you know, you've got the big houses and the big trees and the swimming pools, which were quite far away from where
it was
most
affected.
of the. But having said that, as Dorpstraat, we've taken a decision earlier the year. We've got some wonderful young guys in our team now, and to create space for them, we're going to really work the Shoprite and Boxer market as well. We started with our first investments on that side, and I really see some fantastic growth opportunities. So we still stay to our knitting in terms of retail and the kind of retail that we do, but we're no longer just going to do kind of the Woolies market. We are definitely going to go into the other market.
I still think we've got the best convenience retail in the world. I mean, you go to America and you go to the UK and you go to Europe, and you know, even our food is just next level. I mean, it's just everything is so. You know, I think the South Africans they take a little bit of everything and then they come and make the best of you. You know, and they add and they make it more beautiful, and they just beautify everything and just do it better. I think that's just in the South African DNA, and I think you've done that.
We did a bit of a study of that. Since our Retail Africa years, we've each year, and I'm actually going next week again to Europe and go to the States, Europe, Australia, and visit and try and understand things. And we did really a study of what makes a people space work. I can keep you busy about the dimensions, the 5x3, the anchor, the campagnol that you get in the. You never come in sort of on the sides. You come in the corner on a piazza that. You've got three sides of the piazza that need to have bounce, so that you've got the energy and that the space and the size of the space must be of a certain scale, so that you've got that sense of place, that sense of space that you need. It's a study. It's not. It doesn't fall out of the air. It's actually so. Even in the convenience environment, we're applying those principles because in a convenience center, you cater for the locals. It's a facility like a school or a church or whatever for the local facility. But it's a place they want to go to, where they want to go and drink their coffee and meet their friends and interact, and children need to feel safe. So you bring all those elements together, but you can only do it if you've seen how the old world does it, and then you can try and come and apply it in terms of our own context in South Africa.
You are a man that has achieved a lot and been very busy at work and not less at pleasure, but you have a beautiful family and a lot of women around you. Tell us about they keep you going.
No, thanks, Norman. I'm married to my school sweetheart, so we've been together since standard 7, or what will that be today, grade 9. A wonderful girl. Also, her dad was an entrepreneur, and he did Featherbrook Estate and Ramsay Boulevard and Coral Creek Estate. So I got a bit of property from him as well. So as with my dad, and he was more the opportunistic guy, more the cowboy. And my dad, again, a little bit more structured. And we've got 3 daughters. They're all in their 20s. My eldest daughter is an attorney at law in the Cape. My middle one is just started. She did accountancy, so she's just started as a junior asset manager at Dorpstraat. And then my youngest one is studying engineering, industrial engineering. She's now 4th year. So it's just wonderful, yeah.
So hopefully we'll see them getting involved in and carry on with your legacy. I mean, it's an amazing story, and I just, I've enjoyed this hour. It's been beautiful, and it's been a tremendous learning thing for me, just to know how it just all evolved and where it started from. I mean, from the very beginning, from your dad. But I want to say that you can be very proud, and I think the humility that you show and the commitment to your partners, for everyone that's helped you along the way, you're not taking any of that credit yourself. I mean, it's also a testament to who you are and what you've achieved, and maybe that's why you're so successful. So I want to, on behalf of us here, would like to congratulate you, thank you, and we wish you absolutely all the best going forward into the future. And it's been an amazing listen and hear and understanding and teach, not only for myself, but also for the viewers. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here today.
Norman, I appreciate it. And I have to conclude, as I started, to say, yes, it is actually about the team, and we live it. And I'll be amiss if I don't mention, Etienne and Yaku and Sam and Justin, Karina, Nay, and all the youngsters in the team. It's just so wonderful to be part of it, and looking forward. There's a team there that will take things forward long after I've been part of it, and that actually excites a lot. Getting older.
Well, I still feel I'm young, but I think you've lived. There's an old saying that every man dies, but not every man lives. I think we can thank you for sticking around in South Africa and changing the landscape and turning these ugly ducklings into something far better and more special and more enjoyable to appreciate. And just adding more to the South African country and congratulations to your team. I mean, hopefully I'll have one of them on the podcast in the future, and I'd love to hear their story. But everyone's got their own different story, and it's just wonderful to listen to.
And why I think what you do is so great is you and I, we're of similar age, and I remember fondly. We spoke about the Gerald Rubensteins, and you remember the Mike Crawfords and the Bill Finners, and I can go on, the Ian Watts and Pat Flanagan. They're still active, and that we always used to look up. They're probably 15, 20 years older than we were, and it's things like this, what you're doing, that enables again the youngsters to then come through and do their thing and learn. So it's just wonderful, the series that you're doing.
One of the also reasons I wanted to do this is because we have seen some of us have left us, the great likes of Alec Wapnick, Gerald Leisner. They're no longer with us. Mark Wayne has also left us. And they had so much to teach and to share, and they did wonderful things for the country and for property. And hopefully we'll have this recorded, and we'll reduce it to a book, and people remember, and you'll forever be in the history of South African property. So congratulations.
From our side, to conclude, I think it's such a wonderful place to conclude, is actually for a youngster, go and associate yourself with these mentors that can help you. That definitely for me steered me in a direction. So wonderful.
Thank you. And Jannie, thank you for coming here today again. I really, really appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Norman. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Okay, man.
This is Norman Raad, and I'd like to thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode.